Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the T-54 1951, a rare sight on the battlefields of War Thunders these days. Once the end-of-the-line tank for Soviet Russia, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a battle rating of 7.7. It has an astonishing array of tools at its hand, and it's your typical Russian tank at this battle rating. It has a fairly good blend of armor, mobility, and firepower that makes it very straightforward to use, let's put it that way. Now you can see that I use just 3 shell types. The HE, just don't think about it. The APHE BC shell, which is a tier 1 upgrade, has 215 millimeters of penetration. It has a good normalization angle for what I once called throughout the game APHE shells. And yeah, it's a bit better than the BR412 pure APHE shell. It has better normalization angles, which is very important, very useful. In fact, I think it's better to use than the BR412D, despite having 25 millimeters less of penetration, which puts it above some interesting thresholds. But it does the job, as you can see here, and it penetrates with ease the Leopard and one-shots it. The second shell type is the 3BK5, 380 millimeters of penetration against at any distance, and very good normalization at angles, because it's a HEAT-FS shell, which is a tier 4 upgrade. So the upgrade way for also the you also could use an APDS and a smoke shell, and even APCR, but those are the 2 shell types that I use. HEAT-FS does hull breaking against SPA vehicles. You also have a heavy machine gun, but the APHE BC shell should be your primary shell type in the use of this tank. Now, why do I play this tank today? Well, first of all, it was requested a while ago by one of my subscribers. I want to also spade it a little bit to a state where I just have to play a few games to research the final upgrades for a line of upgrade or a tier of upgrade to get the bonus RP for the upcoming Soviet tanks or the Soviet tank so far that has been said it will come in a dev block, the T-64B or BV, whatever. And well, I want to just simply play it. I want to see how does it well. Also, I tested the question, or I wanted to answer the question, which shell type is better to use? What happens if I use nothing but HEAT-FS? The results were quite disastrous. Many situations led to this, the result that I died because I used HEAT-FS on a side shot. The ammunition didn't blow up. I didn't do enough damage. The enemy could retreat by chasing it. Somebody else had a shot at me, disabling, blah blah blah. If I used the APHE BC shell, on average the battles went better. That's just my result. So I died a stupid amount of times due to the fact that I shot the enemy first, but with the wrong shell type. Now again, the reload on this tank is not the best, but also not the worst. It's kind of average. 8.6 seconds for an ace crew, 9.1 for my expert crew. Very often you lose the reload duel against the Leopard, or especially some of the British tanks. And yeah, so the one-shot capability counts, or the capability to disable the enemy with one shot. Again, you have no stabilizer, you have no autoloader like so many tanks these days do have. And you don't have a big 120mm gun with a solid shot with the insane spalling damage. So you still need to more or less aim for the crew compartment, for example on a Leopard. And the funny thing is, here on this kill cam, I shot into the engine, but the angle was in such a way that the explosion then was behind the spall shield that separates the engine from the crew compartment. So actually quite a lucky hit right there, because otherwise the Leopard would have reloaded faster potentially. So, and we are again in a cap, and we killed 2 tanks in quick succession, securing this flank, coming from an unexpected angle, surprising them. So good stuff. And on this map, it doesn't matter that you don't have the best mobility, the best ground pressure because of the flat terrain and the hard terrains. Also, the lack of gun depression doesn't really impact your gameplay that much. Maybe a little bit around C, but that's debatable because you still can work around it. The armor of the tank makes you a bit safe from SPA, the majority of SPA, of course. Of course, if somebody hits you from behind, aims for the side of your gun barrel or from the side at your gun barrel, the usual stuff happens to you. Maybe a bit of shot trapping going on, but usually you're not paper like so many other tanks like the Leopard, STB-1 and some other tanks at this battle rating or even lower. So it's a straightforward tank, it can forgive you certain things, but again, the turret rotation speed is a big drawback, I think, with just 10 degrees per second for an A screw. And there are, at this point in time, even heavy tanks at the same battle rating, namely the Drawbacks in the French tech tree, that has 3 times the turret rotation speed as a heavy tank. Yeah, you can see this tank has some drawbacks, and it's also nothing new if you have played the T-54-47, which has stronger armor, practically the same mobility, practically the same firepower. So why would you play this when it comes down to skipping it with a folder to progress faster to tier 6? Yes, potentially you could go for the T-54-49 and 51 to just simply research them, because you need, like, I think 6 tanks to go to tier 6, so you need 6 tanks at rank 5. So obviously this is a possibility to get your hands on this tank. Once again, it was end of the line, it was played more often. I think it was the first Soviet tank that had the combination of APHE, APDS and Heat FS as well. Again, the Heat FS 380 millimeters of penetration, much like on the American heavy tank and the M103, that is, but that also has a very, very powerful solid shot with 303 millimeters of penetration, good normalization and massive post-penetration effect. So it suffers at this with the strong reload, or long reload rather. Yeah, so then there is also why I want to show you this match. There are numerous reasons. First of all, we played against mainly the Germans, and we are mostly Russians, if I can overlook it. And it's the old duel that is in the game since the beginning of the time. And the funny thing is, the Germans do everything kind of wrong, whereas the Russians are doing everything more or less right. What I'm talking about here is that at this point in time, I have a solid number of kills, 3. I have also 3 capture zones. I moved around the map between C and B and A. I went through the middle in the beginning. I am now recovering my commander to have access to the heavy machine gun against some air threats. And now I see that B gets captured, and I want to investigate who's in there and if I can deal with it. And there I saw a mouse that is retreating out of the capture zone, and I want to flank him because I don't have the Heat FS shell loaded, but the APHE BC shell, 250 millimeters of penetration. I can penetrate the side, the rear, and also the front of the mouse when it's completely flat. Even the front of the turret is 220 millimeters thick, but again, I want to remember it, it's cast homogeneous armor, so there is an armor reduction factor on the mouse. Some say it's 5%, some say it is 10%. So here we have the back of the turret of the mouse, which is 200 millimeters thick, and I kill 4 of the crew members and even slightly damage the gun breech. So out of the 6 crew members, he is now just 2 left. And repair time, reload rate and so forth. So he misses me with the 75mm. He wanted to track me, and now watch this. I switched to the Heat FS shell, and this shot could have been the end of the mouse. I missed the gunner, and watch this shot right there. Again, I actually don't hit the gunner. I have no idea what happened there. Again, with an APHE, this would have been a kill shot. He angles again, and I shot him anyway, and now I do damage by disabling the gun breach. That means I'm relatively safe. He gets set on fire by somebody else, and I just kill the driver because I have enough of this gun on nonsense. I have no idea what happened there. When I drive the mouse, that never happens. But again, you can penetrate a mouse effectively with the APHE BC shell, especially at this distance when the armor is flat. Nevertheless, we are sitting in the capture zone and we are capturing it. So the Germans had equal amounts of players throughout the entirety of the game, and the Wirbelwind just killed the object 120, but got killed and deleted by another T-54 in return. And this is now not just my 4th kill, but also my 4th capture base. And we secured all the capture zones. The German attempts to go for the capture zones and hold them, well, they were just destroyed, the attempts, by numerous Soviet tanks that swarmed 1 or maybe 2 German tanks and destroyed them with ease by rushing them, by one-shotting them, or by taking them on with teamwork, as you could see throughout the game. And the Germans also did the failure of going into planes. Now, the German CAS is not the strongest. It's not the worst if you compare it to the, well, to the Italian and also the Japanese CAS, but nevertheless, they just flew around in Focke-Wulf A's, A5s if I'm not mistaken, and they're not the best, even to secure air superiority. But nevertheless, we went for the capture zones, we did some teamwork, the tank does still the job, but it's a bit boring. It's nothing new after the T-54-47. It feels like a downgrade. The stock grind towards the heat defense shell and so forth is pretty long. 62,000 civil lines, over 6,000 research points with a 30% booster, RP booster that is, and also a premium account. First in team with 2,307 score points, securing me also the transmission upgrade. So you can see there is still stuff to research on this tank. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this battle. I'm currently preparing for the new patch that is coming out with the methods that I told you. Yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we will see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.